Disney World. We have been multiple times to Walt Disney World. I think our first trip as a family was 1995.
Because our third child was just a baby.
Yeah, and this latest trip, it like number 13 or 14, I think. So we've been a few times, and most of those trips to Walt Disney World, we have stayed at the world famous, renowned Fort Wilderness Campground.
And I should add that each of those trips we've stayed like 10 days.
Oh yeah.
They're not short. They're not like, 3-day trips or
and we've stayed in a tent, we've stayed in a pop-up, we've stayed in a hybrid, we've stayed in a motorhome.
We have not stayed in a tent.
We have
Disney
stayed
World.
in a tent.
Oh.
The motorcycle trip.
Yes, we did.
See? So, we've got experience at different sites at Walt Disney World, or at Fort Wilderness. Fort Wilderness is going to be the most expensive place to stay at in Orlando as far as campgrounds are concerned.
By the way, we've also stayed at 4 hotels in Disney World.
Yeah. So the benefits of staying at Fort Wilderness: free parking at the theme parks. That's a $30 value. It's quite a lot of money, especially if you're going to be going, say, 4 or 5 days or 10 days like we like to do. I mean, that's $120 to $300 that you're saving on that. Internal transportation. You park your vehicle and you don't have to drive it.
A lot of people will not touch their vehicle once they get there.
Yeah. Which is that's a pretty good benefit. And then 30 minutes early entry into the theme parks. Now, that one is kind of are you a morning person?
Yeah, because if you rope drop and you really hustle, you can get on some rides that you might not even want to ride otherwise because the line is too long.
The thing is, the little secret that everybody who rope drops knows, you have to show up at the theme park an hour before that early entry starts. So if early entry into Animal Kingdom is 7:30, you need to be at the parking lot at 6:30, which is just so happens to be when they open the parking lot.
And then you might even get to open the park.
Yeah. So that's about the length of the benefits. They used to be better in a company where the founder was always talking about plussing. They've done a lot of minusing here in the last decade, but that's what you get for staying at Fort Wilderness. Now the amenities. This is where Fort Wilderness really you win.
Are those like sea creatures?
No, those are in those are different.
Okay.
Pools. There are 2 pools. One of them is called the Wilderness Pool, I believe. It's kind of back by the cabins. It's a smaller pool, not real populated.
So it's quieter. Yeah. People seem to like it because it's quieter.
But the main pool is staffed. So you've got, it seems like there were 4 lifeguards there at that pool. And it's not one of the larger resort pools. It's probably one of the smaller main resort pools at all at Disney World.
Size-wise, really?
Yeah, I think so. Does have a water slide, and they have activities. It's not just the lifeguards just sitting there blowing their whistle at 8-year-olds running across the concrete.
Yeah.
They actually have activities, little games that they play.
There's also a really cool toddler area.
Yeah.
It's really, it's actually one of my favorite toddler areas.
Another amenity, craft activities. I believe when we were there this last time, they were doing tie-dye T-shirts.
And they're always doing those wooden things, those wooden signs. And those are really nice. So I see those all the time.
And that comes at there's a cost for that, whatever it is.
I think it's like $50 or something.
Horseback rides, another something that costs money, but it is available. It's your typical tame horseback rides. The Chippendale sing-along. See, this is something that is probably a little bit different than at the other resorts. At Fort Wilderness, you have a guy playing guitar and just singing
older songs.
You know,
just fun campfire
Oh,
songs.
Susanna.
Yeah.
You know,
it's at 8 o'clock, weather permitting.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, to me, it's, I don't know, I guess if you get back in time, but 8 o'clock, if you're going to the park that day, which some people go to the Fort Wilderness to not go to the parks, they just go to play. But if you're going to the parks, 8 o'clock's kind of early to me to get there.
Yeah, kind of, but we stayed at a campsite that was very close to the place, and we would have heard the movie pretty late at night.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's the guy singing, and then Chippendale came out, and they do about 15-20 minutes of interaction with everybody out there. There are 2 fire pits and s'mores kits available, so you can make s'mores over the fire pits.
Or you can just get burned by the kids making s'mores.
Now there is a cast member at each fire pit to try to keep a little bit of that marshmallow slinging down.
Flinging, yeah.
And then after all that, you've got the movie, which all the resorts have a pool movie, you know, that they have, but you know, Fort Wilderness has everything else added on top of that. So that's free. Other than if you want to buy stuff for s'mores, you know, that's going to cost you.
But you can bring your own.
Yes.
You can bring all your own.
Bring your own is a little bit cheaper than buying them at the food stand there. So they've got
Go ahead.
Canoe rentals, bike rentals,
Golf cart rentals and looping.
Yeah, the golf cart rentals, we'll touch on that in just a minute. You cannot bring your own watercraft to
of any kind.
Yeah, to float around in the canals there. You have to rent them from Disney. Which also, now you can bring your own bicycles.
Right.
So far, right now, you can bring your own bicycles. They just, in 2024, instituted some new rules for bringing your own golf cart. You can rent the golf carts at Fort Wilderness. They want you to rent them because they've instituted rules with bringing your own golf cart, which they have to be governed. They have to have a governor on them. They can't go over 20 mile an hour.
Supposedly, but
I'm just talking about the rules.
Right.
I'm not talking about what happens.
Right.
They have to be insured.
Not just insured.
What do you mean not just insured?
They need high insurance. They need higher coverage insurance.
Yeah. And don't they have to be...
You can't just get your normal insurance, and you have to get higher coverage.
So...
And don't they have to be what?
So they've made it a little bit more difficult for you to bring your own golf cart into Fort Wilderness.
And they implemented all this with 30-day warning.
Yeah. So that...
Another story, but
and people will tell you, you have to have a golf cart at Fort Wilderness. Now, this is where Terry and I are going to poo-poo on that one. Fort Wilderness is a very large campground. It is, I believe, 1 mile from the entrance all the way to the back of the campground. If you are mobility challenged,
or if you have a child in a stroller,
maybe a golf cart would be good for you. But keep in mind there are internal buses, pardon my French, that stop at each campground loop.
watching the Olympics.
They stop at each campground loop. So if you can make it from your campsite to the bus stop, which is not that far, you don't need a golf cart. Those internal buses take you to where the main buses are, that take you to the theme parks.
The people that say you do need a golf cart, you do have to wait for those internal buses. They come around regularly, but I mean, you
still have to wait.
Yeah.
We rented a golf cart for the first time on our trip in 2024, just for you, to research for you. We did it because we haven't done it before and thought it'd be fun. And it was fun for a couple of days. It's expensive. It wasn't
enough fun to make up for the expense.
Yeah, it's like $60 or something a day.
Now, I will say there are what are they called? The hunts.
Scavenger hunts.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I went blank. Scavenger hunts. Lots of scavenger hunts going on. I mean, people, it's just a thing that the campers do out there, and they hide stuff all around, and people just loop, which, you know, I mean, if you have a golf cart, you know what looping is. It seems like they do it all over America now. On the
it's the latest thing.
Yeah. But they hide stuff, and then there's groups on Facebook that you can look up where there's hints and stuff where stuff is, and then you can go around and you can find really nice stuff. I mean, some people will actually meal credits. I mean, stuffed animals, you know, usually Disney, just some really nice stuff. So that's fun. And you almost can't do that if you don't have a golf cart, because you can't drive around, and because you can't walk fast enough to get there before other people with golf cart can get there.
Bicycles. Now, this is where I think bicycles are a pretty good thing to have at Fort Wilderness.
Yep.
Bring your bicycles, and you can pedal around everywhere, and it's not going to cost you $60 a day to rent a golf cart.
Right.
You can devise ways to carry a stroller somehow on a bicycle. You know, you can get real inventive. You can have a trailer on your bike. You know, so there are ways to get around that expensive golf cart rental. I mean, you're already paying a large amount for the campsite you're staying on. Add another $60,
right,
for something that you're only going to use for maybe 15 minutes a day, except for the days you're not going to the theme park.
Right.
So,
and there is a question a lot of people have about driving. I see this question a lot. People asking about driving and where you can park, and you can drive your car to your campsite and back. You cannot park at the marina. You cannot park up front where you catch the buses. So basically, you can't park at the pools. So basically, you can park at the dog parks, but they kind of keep it down where they don't want you driving around, which is kind of cool. I mean, that's kind of a cool
and it's it makes it a little bit safer for the little ones.
Right. But you can definitely, if you're wondering, can I get to the theme park and back in my car? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we do that. Terry and I do that most of the time, because Disney transportation, a lot of people, you know, this is great. If you want to be somewhere at a certain time, you don't take Disney transportation.
And people Uber also, and take Lyft.
Something else they offer out there at Fort Wilderness is archery.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's over in the bike barn area. There's targets back there, and they offer, you know, that. There are 2 camp stores, the Meadows Trading Post and the Settlement Trading Post. They are both essentially the same, stocked almost identically. It's kind of like you go into one Walmart and it's the same as another. These 2 camp stores are stocked identically. Mm-hmm. The Meadows Trading Post is by the pool, the Meadows pool. And you can get, there's a limited amount of camp supplies there you can get. You can expect to pay a premium. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that's a Disney thing. It's a campground thing. And souvenirs, of course. You've got, and even Fort Wilderness specific souvenirs, which is pretty cool. We like those specific souvenirs. As far as eats, there is a concessioner at the main pool. It's, you know, your basic concession stand type food, hot dog, nacho, whatever. They do have food trucks at the marina around the settlement trading post. There's 3 food trucks there, if I remember right. One of them was like an ice cream or a Italian ice truck, and the other 2 were some sort of food. And you have Trails End restaurant. Used to be Trails End buffet, and then COVID hit and everybody's getting away from sharing germs. So now it's just a restaurant. It's a quick service type it's a little different than the quick service you get at all the other resorts, but it's kind of the same type of situation.
Mickey pancakes.
Yeah. Crockett's Tavern.
But then
That's the main food. Now, then you have the expensive, the must-have reservation, and quite honestly, you got to do it once. The Hoop-de-Doo Review. It's just a fun dinner show. We did it with a huge family. You know, our daughter's family, which is huge. It's a basketball team, and then us, and that was fun. And we had a lot of fun, and
people
it was
come
good
from
food.
The resort hotels and come out there all the time.
Let's see, they have a hayride. And then the barn where all the big draft horses are kept. You can go there. It's open from, you know, regular type business hours is when it's open. It's not open real late. I think it closes at like 5-ish, you know, somewhere around there. But you can go over there and check out those big old draft horses. There's a, what is that? Calliope. Yeah. There's a big organ wagon that has been with Disney for a long, long time. That's pretty cool. You go see that. And there's just some other little tidbits there. The Tri-Circle D Ranch barn. And there's pony rides, you know, the type that, you know, somebody is walking your child around.
It's like $20 for one circle or something like that.
It's all expensive. Disney, the all expensive vacation.
Very much so.
That's
it's catch and release. There's
you can fish there. It's catch and release. They do have
tours.
Fishing, guided fishing. You can rent boats, pontoon boats. So there is a lot.
And one more thing, they have, speaking of the gift stores, they have mining.
Yeah.
You can buy a bag of dirt, and then they have an old-fashioned mining type thing. You put the dirt in.
A slough.
Okay. and it cleans it all off, and you can see what you've discovered. So that's kind of cool too.
So and it's beautiful. Okay, Fort Wilderness is a beautiful park. A lot of people will tell you that it's a lot like a cross between a state park and a commercial campground. You've got ample space.
Animals everywhere. Bald eagles, otters, deer. I mean,
And privacy, really surprising, the privacy you have between you and your neighbor. Not on all sites. There are some sites where, but I mean, it's a nice campground, well-kept campground. You will see housekeeping on campsites almost as they're pulling out to leave.
And when you come in, they're going to give you a site, but then they'll ask you if that's okay. If they don't, even if they don't, you could say, well, I'd prefer this other loop or whatever. And if they'll try to accommodate you.
And
there's some that are easier to pull in. Like if you have trouble pulling into, backing in, you can ask for one that's easier to back into, or do your homework ahead of time and see where you want to be.
Definitely, and they are accommodating, especially when you're nice to them. Yeah,
and especially if you don't call the main number and you talk to the front desk themselves. That's for other issues.
Yes. For the best way to resolve issues at Fort Wilderness is to go up front and talk to the front desk. That's the easiest, quickest way.
And you're going to get the most results.
Yes, and you're going to get somebody who actually works at Fort Wilderness. A lot of times when you call the number, you're going to get somebody from a central...
I think housekeeping is what I heard. You're getting housekeeping sometimes.
So, take care of business that way. The boat ride from Fort Wilderness to Magic Kingdom, that's the main way to get to Magic Kingdom is the boat, and it is great.
Wonderful.
It's fun. And
ask if you haven't been there and you don't know about this. It's a little secret. Ask the boat driver. What's the boat driver called? The captain. To show you the bears moving eyes at Wilderness Lodge as you go by, because it's pretty cool.
So, here goes the unpopular opinion. And she tends to disagree with me on this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. Is Fort Wilderness worth it? You know,
you could say either way, and I wouldn't disagree with you.
So, right now, I just did set up a reservation for September. We're not going in September.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm leaving.
The price range is from $115 a night all the way up to $143 a night, which is a little bit lower than... Of course, haven't been filling up the campground lately, so I have to wonder if they're not discounting the rates a little bit. My answer to is it worth it? If you're going to Walt Disney World and you are going to be going to the theme parks every day of your stay, that list of amenities doesn't mean anything to you at all. You're not going to be using these amenities because you're going to be at the theme parks every day. That said, no, Fort Wilderness is absolutely not worth it for you.
Money-wise, now, is it worth it to own an RV at all?
Well, no.
Okay. So it's not all about how much you're...
But I'm talking monetarily.
Right.
No, you're not going to be using the amenities. That is an extreme amount of money to pay for a campground when all you're going to be doing is sleeping in it.
And that's not saying we're not going to go every time and rent it.
No, we will go every single trip we go to Disney World. We're staying at Fort Wilderness.
But I actually
and the reason I say this, you can stay at a hotel on Hotel Row, a Disney partner hotel, which gives you a lot of the benefits that staying on property does, for $60 a night. That is half as much as what you're going to pay to stay at a campground at Fort Wilderness. The KOA at Kissimmee is between $70 and $90 a night. Still less expensive than Fort Wilderness. Okay, it's $30 a night or $30 a day you got to pay for parking. Well, if you get the $70 campsite at KOA, you're coming out $15 a head every day, even after you've paid for parking at the theme parks. So, and if you're a Thousand Trails member, see, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all to stay at Fort Wilderness, because if you're a Thousand Trails member, you can stay at Thousand Trails Orlando without pulling any money out of your pocket. And so that $30 a day parking is nothing. And if you have an annual pass to Walt Disney World,
it really is nothing.
Okay, so no, Fort Wilderness is not worth the money to stay at. But like she said, and like I said, we will stay at Fort Wilderness every single time we go to Walt Disney World because we love it. The campsites, there's a lot of room in the campsites. It's just, there's a feel you get when you stay on Disney properties. It's hard to describe. It's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't stayed there for more than 3 days. Holidays.
I mean, like Halloween is a big deal. There's actually a mid-year Halloween also, where everybody decorates their golf carts.
Halfway to Halloween.
And it's pretty awesome. And of course, you decorate your campsites. I mean, the campsites can be crazy decorations. You've got inflatables. You've got so much stuff. I don't even know how people get to their doors sometimes. And it's awesome.
And as a generality, the cast members at Fort Wilderness are awesome. Mm-hmm. In a general sense. I know somebody's going to...
It's always an exception.
You're going to come across somebody who dog did something with their shoe that morning and they're not happy. Mm-hmm. But in a general sense, the Disney cast members at Fort Wilderness are awesome and very helpful. And to watch them interact with kids is just over the top. What was it? A few years ago, we had our grandkids stay in the night with us at Fort Wilderness, and they had an interaction with a cast member, and we get back to camp that night, and there is a card from Mickey or Minnie, or Mickey and Minnie, on our camper. I don't know how they found out where we were camping, but it was awesome, and it was addressed to our grandkids, the kids that were staying with us. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, that maybe that explains a little bit of the atmosphere you get when you stay at Fort Wilderness. But like I said earlier, if all you're doing is waking up in the morning and running to the theme parks and then coming back and going to bed, I don't know that it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
But that is our take on Fort Wilderness. Again, but like I said, we have stayed there well over 100 nights over the years. We've had a lot of fun there. We've had a lot of experiences there. We love it there. So if you've got any questions about Fort Wilderness, leave a comment down below. Ask us the questions. We will try to answer them. If you've got any awesome stories about Fort Wilderness, leave them down below. We like to read them. Yeah. We will catch y'all down the trail.